that's kind of like what I started to merge into, is like
Hmm.
taking what I was learning and really saying that, hey, you know what, if I got this knowledge, what am I going to do with it? I don't want to be a fool and not share it. So I got to pass it on in some way. And my vehicle was putting it into the visual form.
We got to sit down and just get blessed with knowledge again this season by Spie from TMC and FC and a whole bunch of other illustrious crews, TDK, the list goes on. I've always been struck by Eric's poise. The dude is poised. He like holds himself in a particular way. He behaves in a way that tells you that he cares, tells you that he's calculating what he's doing. He's not just one of these guys that's floating through his existence. And I really appreciate that. And in this month's episode, we talk about leadership. We talk about critical thinking. I mean, these are some of the themes in my life that are a part of my daily thinking and my concerns. And when I get to hear from Spie him talking about, recognizing our own best potential, when he uses phrases like that, just in the way he speaks, this guy is a community organizer and he's an inspiration. He'll tell you that he's not. Or what he'll say is that he doesn't want to be necessarily put in a place where he has to like kind of force his ideas on people. But he is a teacher. And, we've already highlighted in this season entrepreneurship and mentorship. And, what I really dig about Spie is that he embodies those things and then takes it a little bit further. He works in academia. He teaches kids. And so he has obviously felt some sort of a calling or a responsibility. Like he even says, he knows things, so he now thinks it's time to spread that. So he won't be a fool, in his words. And like I just appreciate that so much. He talks a lot also about critical thinking when it comes to our global leadership. I mean, if you can even call it that. But these clowns in Washington, they're not leading anybody. They're leading themselves back up their asses, as far as I'm concerned. And I try to talk about this with Spie, and I really want his opinion. Growing up in San Francisco in the 90s, Spie was infamous for being a guy who, I think took chances and did a lot of firsts. But again, he was always thought of as this kind of wise figure in the community. And so I do look to him for a little clarity, a little understanding of what the fuck we're going through right now as a nation and as a global community with this, piece of shit in the Oval Office that is just driving us towards some sort of disaster. But without too much doom and gloom, let's get into this episode and hear some of the knowledge that comes directly from Spie himself. My mind was just kind of running a little bit just now about leaders because, you go to Cuba and you just happen to sit down with Shakur. You unveil a painting and of Malcolm X, and his wife is there to show it to you, and you get to spend time with her. You happen to partner with a guy like Mike Dream, who in his own right, probably from his birth, he was a teacher. He was just this guy.
He was a builder, definitely.
Yeah. Do you think that do you think maybe that teaching has always been your destiny?
Sharing and being communal, I think is part of my upbringing. I think craving to get into the craft of graph is like, it was a social push there, because everybody was doing it. The need to want to be respected and seen, right? Yeah, and then I was a little bit more into getting into the artwork part of it, so it's kind of evolved from there.
Well, and like your murals teach, and in the Bay Area, like we're fortunate. There's a history of art on walls teaching people about things, which many cities don't have that. I would argue New York City doesn't have that. And it's a shame, actually. I was just talking with another friend about how come there's never money in New York City for murals, but they allocate millions for physical sculptures, installations. Multiple millions every year go to that, and $0 go to murals. Maybe not zero, but you just don't see murals being funded. But the Bay Area always has, and it's something I appreciate about your work, man. It's like I've learned about the plight of different people through your work, and so when back to this idea of leaders, like we're in and we're going to get back, we're going to stick on Graf and your career, but I can't help but touch on the state of leadership in the world right now. Maybe we can just focus on America because that's easy. And I'm just dying to know, because the last time we spoke, we lived in a pre-Trump world, and we are now in a totally different place. And I think about hearing names like Malcolm X, and I think, for better or for worse, he was a really smart leader. You got any sage wisdom about where we are right now with our leadership in this country and where we're going? Because it's exhausting for me, man, and I don't have answers sometimes. I wonder if you do.
Oh man, I've never been one of, similar to that, like how Malcolm would say it. I've been always critical about how to use the word "we" and "our" in defining like who is it that I'm saying is my leader or my teacher. So I mean, it's not much different. I mean, what's the big focus of this country's moves is make the almighty dollar. It's like the commerce and taking and raping of the resources is where it's at. And they'll be cutthroat and let people go as they please just to get that bottom line. And maybe it's a little bit more covert now. I mean, a little bit more apparent
in your face,
as opposed
now.
to being covert
right
now.
Right. Which I don't know what's better. You know what I mean? Now that all the racists in our upper government are exposed, it's like I don't know if it makes it any better. I always knew they were there. And in a way it hurts more to just see it, but it wasn't a big surprise to me. I agree with that. Also, your idea about we and because the people in the White House certainly are not my leaders. They're not even my elected officials because I didn't vote any of them in. Can you maybe talk a little bit more about your feelings about these guys? Because I know you got a lot to say about this administration. I just know it. And so I want to give you that space to explore it.
I could, and they need to be critiqued and they need to be studied, definitely, But I think it can be quite draining as well. I think if we're about trying to build with what we're able to, we should be putting in the energy of how to again build community and bring out the best in folks so that they don't become locked into a system of servitude, the court system, or just get caught up into like, oh, this is the only way it's possible and that kind of thing. It really does come back to what do you want to put your energies toward. I can get completely drained from just like getting sucked up in the world of news. And then be talking about, oh, I know what's going on. It's all these heads of state and stuff always talk about making moves with their intelligence says or something, but these folks ain't got no intellect. You know what I'm saying? It's like their mode is not about supporting humanity.
It's not about for advancing humanity. Is that what you said?
No, it's not supporting of the working class people in this country or around the world. It's not. So what can we do locally, grassroots, to make a change and bring about some kind of self-determination for our own communities, as opposed to always saying, oh, we just gotta, go out and try to get somebody elected and thinking that they're gonna do something for us. They're all gonna cut deals with any kind of power brokers that have the real power hand in charge here. And it's downright maddening. that people's energies get literally taken from them, and then they live in a guise thinking that they can really make a difference if they, oh, we got to build a new Democratic Party or some kind of craziness like that. Like, really, I don't have all the answers. I don't like being asked to give the answers, but I really feel that we got to recognize our own best potential and see that we have a whole bunch of other folks being very equal and sharing the same kind of struggle.
I ask you if you have answers, mainly because you're a teacher. You teach children. I wonder a lot.
They teach me, man.
I bet they do. I bet they do. But listen,
I'm going, Daddy, they're trying to tell me the right thing.
Well, here's the thing. I wonder how you reconcile what these kids are hearing, things that they just shouldn't hear from a president of anything. You know what I mean? And I wonder how you help them kind of deal with that, how you help them rectify or create understanding about all this kind of crazy, hateful stuff that they're hearing about.
I mean, like I said, it's about being, like you said, being woke, being aware, but being critical and paying attention to what's going on so that it doesn't come as a shock or a surprise and you don't end up being paranoid. It's wild. I mean, we gotta be in a state of somewhat rage in some way because of the stuff that's being handed down to like our neighbors here, our own folks are being persecuted and living in fear of being deported or
right. I mean, it's
walking outside their own home and getting shot by someone who doesn't know what's going on and just wants to take from somebody because they ain't got nothing for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same story. It's like the bullies of the world are just taking advantage of the weakest people right now. I primarily DACA recipients. Like, I just can't even. It just every day I just wake up even more kind of beaten down by this situation that 800,000 Americans are dealing with right now. It's awful.
Yeah, I mean, and they're being used as a little wedge to them to get rid of all the folks that are not DACAs, folks that are not on that program. It's like it's a crazy card game. Man.
It is a crazy card game, and I'm asking because I see you as like a player, and you're talking about community organizing. And it just makes me think, when are we going to see Eric Spie for, city councilman? Is that ever in your future?
No.
Really? No politics?
not in that sense,
Okay.
I'm all about just being a critical-minded person that tries to keep hip, what a curious one. How did he define hip-hop? Hip is being wise and I guess intelligent to know what's going on, or taking the approach of just being woke, right? And then hop is the movement. Go ahead and do it. It's like coming with a particular set of understanding of the world in which we live that forwards our creative output.
No, that's good.
That's
I guess maybe I'll just I'll say it another way. I publicly challenge you. I officially challenge you to become an elected official, Eric, because you got so much leadership. Now listen, you being a critical thinker, that's great. Listen, that's great. We need critical thinkers. I would like to give you a bigger platform for you to be able to tell people your thoughts. And maybe that's another maybe you'll start your podcast one day. Which could be kind of interesting.
I'm not into telling people what to do and how to think, I'm gonna do what I can do to personally feel good that I know that I'm doing right. I'm trying to push and besting what I guess I've already done. And that's work enough.
Spie may not have wanted to talk about destiny, but I think that it's pretty clear that this guy he's chosen in some way, and he's used his graph, he's used his spray paints and other paints to inform people and educate people, and educating them about important things like the injustices of the world. Spie has always taught me from his work on the walls, and if you grew up around his work, he taught you. as well. And you know, the graffiti community, our community, we're still fighting this stigma, right, of like being vandals. And you know, it's a challenge, obviously, because there's a lot of people, myself included, that have just wanted to wreck shit and have done that. But you know, what I like about the way Spie talks is about this, having this critical thinking capacity, right? And like, if we do that, if we think about writers and graffiti makers and street artists and all of it, if we think about why people all over the world have made marks on walls, it's like we're trying to say something. And either you're trying to say, here I am, or you are bombing something out with a huge silver fill-in to just take over the space and say, fuck you. Either way, we're trying to communicate this thing. And I would argue that we're trying to communicate to our leaders and to the people that have larger platforms or bigger megaphones to be heard by more people. But we are this group that is always saying, we're still here and we're not going away. And I've always thought that that component to graffiti needs to be preserved and celebrated. Huge thanks to Spie coming back onto the show, blessing us a second time. And you know, you can see his work on Instagram at Agent Decoy. And a quick Google search of SPIE graffiti will pull up a whole treasure trove of images. You can also reach out to me directly on Instagram. I'm at Adam Fu, or the My Life in Letters page, which is at My Life in Letters Podcast. We record every episode in New York City. My producer is Christopher Piccioni. Our intern is Madison Bradley, and I'm Adam Fujita. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Have a great day.